Bill, I suppose, first of all, a career that has spanned many decades, but first of all, I got to ask you, Bill Engvall, have you ever graced the Emerald Isle of Ireland?
You know what, my friend, I actually have, and I can tell you unequivocally that I would move to Ireland in 2 seconds.
And
I love the people. And by the way, while we're talking, a big congratulations to Shane Lowry and the whole Irish people. That was just such a magnificent, wonderful. You know what? It became more than golf. It was Shane to me is the epitome of he's the blue collar hero. I mean, he's the guy that, you know. No offense to Rory and Graham and all them. That was all great, but Shane was not the one they were picking. And I always love it when if you will, for lack of a better term, the underdog comes out on top. Yeah.
And I suppose, Bill, we'll just take you back now. We'll stretch back the eras and the decades. And we are talking about icons of comedy. And in relation to your sort of comedy sort of career, sort of comedy found you, I'd say, more than you found comedy. Is that fair to say you initially wanted to become a teacher, by all accounts?
No, you are exactly correct. I found comedy quite by accident, but I'm a believer, my friend, in the fact that we're all have a predestined paths in our lives, and I just didn't know comedy was going to be the woman I'd be dancing with for the rest of my life. But you know what? She's a hell of a gal, and I also think that to answer your question, that I believe that good teachers are entertainers in their own right. And my proof of that is, if you were to think back over all the years that you went in school, the teachers that made it fun, you can probably remember their names.
Yeah, true. And I suppose, Bill, growing up as a young adult, as a teenager, you probably had a keen interest in comedy before you even took up comedy as a profession, and lo and behold, your career. And when you were growing up, what sort of comedians made you chuckle or made you laugh, or who just made you feel good about yourself?
Well, I had several. I go back to Bob Newhart, who my dad was a big fan of, and we always had his records at the house. But then when I started becoming my own man, I really enjoyed George Carlin, Richard Pryor. I was a huge Benny Hill fan. Okay. I just thought he was very funny. But the people that it's interesting because when I would listen, and Steve Martin was a huge influence on me, even though our acts are nowhere anything similar.
Mighty actor
he
Steve.
He was a huge influence on me. I remember buying with Steve Martin's "Let's Get Small" album, and I listened to it the first time, and that shows you my age. It was a record. It was. I listened to it for the comedy, but then I listened to it again, and I heard the people and how happy they were, and I thought, well, that would be a fun job, but I didn't think you could do it as a job. I didn't know how you became a, and go back to your statement, it just sort of found me.
Yeah, and I suppose, Bill, in 1990, you made what was probably, what at the time was probably a defining sort of decision, a make or break decision for you in relation to your livelihood and in terms of your future. You decided to move to Southern California to dedicate a career fully in comedy. And I suppose there's an awful lot of risks and pearls initially attached to that in relation to you don't know your outcome. You're going on a whim and on a prayer, and you're just hoping that everything will fall into place.
Well, when we moved, it's actually, at least for me, a very funny story. When we moved to California, that was kind of where you had to be. It was either New York or California, and I knew I wasn't going to move to New York. So my wife, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, and I loaded up our car and drove to Los Angeles. And I remember specifically driving in, and I saw the Hollywood sign, and I said out loud as I was driving the U-Haul truck, I said, "Please be good to me," because we really jumped into a pool that we had no idea what was expected of us, or because I kind of back to the Shane. I'm kind of the same way in the sense that I'm the same guy you see at a pub or at the market that you're going to see on stage. I don't change.
Yeah.
And so for us to leave what was a very comfortable existence in Texas and to move to California was huge. And I just kind of, I've always been that guy that just, I don't take advantage of people, but if I want something, I'll ask for it, And so I just would ask around to my fellow comedian peers, and how do I go about doing this and doing that, and I learned the ropes of the business. And the next thing I knew, I was doing the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and I won the Best Male Stand-Up in 1991, which was a very special award for me because it was the first year they let the public vote. It wasn't just 4 or 5 guys sitting around a table wanting to know who they thought was the best comedian. This got to be voted by the people who paid, their hard-earned money to come see the show. So that award probably has been the most significant in my career.
Yeah, and I suppose, Bill, you were coming, as you said, from Texas, and you sort of had that sort of flavour of comedy from your sort of origins. We all know comedians are inspired by their origins and by their backstories, and you're coming to LA, a big massive city, the city of angels or so. Did you find your sort of comedy routine that you had in relation that served you so well in Texas? Did you find it really was in place in the same market in Los Angeles, or do you find you had to tune or re-gig your sort of act as you moved on?
That's a great question. Because I don't know if it's God or whoever you want to say, but for whatever reason, I've always had the ability. Even though I was coming from Texas, I wasn't what I would call regional. You know what I mean? My comedy has always been one of about family and being married and having kids, and I don't care where you live in this world. I have a theory that we all do the same things. It's just with different accents.
Yeah.
Like a fellow there in Ireland would probably handle his household the same way that a guy in Austin, Texas would. It's just different accents. And so that I was very fortunate in that I didn't have to change my act that much. I will say that when we moved to LA, that back then I had a very heavy Texas accent. But after 30 years of Los Angeles, it's kind of become, pretty middle of the road. But it's funny that if I go home to Texas, if I'm home for like 5 minutes, all of a sudden you wouldn't be able to understand me. And I'm sure that, and to tell you a funny story about accents, that my wife always gets on me because wherever we go, somehow I adopt that accent. But I'm speaking like when we went to France, I would adopt a French accent, but I'm speaking in English.
Okay. And I suppose, Bill, it just intrigues me. I suppose we all know about your great friendship with Jeff Foxworthy, and coming to Los Angeles, were you sort of aware of Jeff before you arrived, or did you sort of form that blossoming friendship in Los Angeles, coming from the sort of same sort of background? And what led to the creation of the Jeff Foxworthy Show in 1996, which sort of catapulted both of your careers onto the next stage?
Right. Well, Jeff and I had known each other when we were in the clubs. But we were both headliners, so we didn't really, our paths kind of crossed, like one was leaving, the other one was coming in. But we established a friendship and a bond that will be for the rest of our lives. And then he got his show, the Jeff Foxworthy Show. Yeah. And a funny story about that, I auditioned for it 4 times before they gave it.
Whoa.
At one point I said, you got to stop calling me, because every time you call me, I lose a job.
Okay.
But Jeff was very instrumental in even though I had actually been doing comedy longer than Jeff. He exploded. I mean, he hit the stratosphere, and God bless his heart. He asked me. He was playing theaters and arenas at that time.